We got it. Here we are. We're live. It is Tuesday and it's September 7th. And so, like I shared yesterday on the call, we had a smaller call. It was Labor Day weekend in Canada and the US. And then also it was the Jewish New Year yesterday. And so I shared that on the call. And, you know, I often like to speak in a very general and more relatable kind of broad view. But I do want to share a little bit from my life just here at the beginning. And so there are many beautiful traditions. This is actually one of I think it's my favorite time of the year, really. And so we're all kind of gathering, wishing for a very sweet year and asking for, you know, a fresh start, or we set goals, we have those conversations. And all in all, this time period represents a process of purification, of cleansing, of whitening, if you will. And so if we want to relate this to everyone, these traditions follow the calendar of the moon. And so yesterday we welcomed a new moon, and that always represents, you know, a new beginning. We have that chance every time, every month, to create a new beginning. But I don't want to direct this conversation to new beginnings. I do want to share a short personal share about my journey so that I can kind of set the stage, and then I'll connect all the pieces together and it'll all make sense. So sharing my personal journey, I was born in the United States, upstate New York, and I moved to Israel when I was 9. In Israel, of course, in Israel, I served in the military, went to the university, and I met my husband. And so shortly after we met, we decided to move to the US. And that was about 15 years ago. And actually thinking back, it's basically around this time, 15 years ago. So around the end of August is when we moved. And so we established many businesses, and we grew and grew. And we too, you know, we made millions in retail sales. And we had many, many employees, and we were established all throughout the United States. And we would host people from all over the world. So it was this big, massive operation of just employees, you know, 60 employees at one time, and people coming and going. And it was, you know, a huge production. And so, and obviously in this time period, we made a bunch of kids as well. That always adds to the beauty of things. And so, but what I want to present to you is this: we were far away from family. My husband's family is in Israel. My family is in Israel. And so that's never easy. And so something that we had kind of decided early on is that we will host these big gatherings at our house. And so if it was a Friday dinner, traditionally as we host, we would host everyone that came and everyone that didn't have a place to be. You know, we would host all of these events. And so either, you know, a high holiday or a Friday dinner, we would have sometimes 30, 40, 50 people at our house. And this was, you know, a tradition. So, you know, just to kind of make the point even clearer, even when I had my youngest daughter, my 4th child, just a couple of years ago, a few days after I gave birth, we had 35 people in our house in a holiday experience. So this is what holidays were for me, you know, for a good 13 years or so. And then we went into lockdown, right? There was that period of lockdown. And suddenly, for the first time, we were not able to celebrate with anyone. There was no inviting anyone over. There was no going to anyone's house. And that was like, you know, like fireworks, just an eye-opening experience, because suddenly we were just my immediate family at the table. And, you know, you give the attention to the children. And so many of these things, you know, they are in a different language, in a complex language. And so suddenly you can break everything down for the people that matter most. And granted, you know, we are 6 family members. So anywhere we go, we can create a party just by showing up. So it wasn't like, you know, the small gathering, it was all of us together. But what I want to emphasize is that this was, of course, different, and it was reduced or really distilled to what matters most. And that was something that we really, really loved. And I know that that's very relatable to everyone that kind of went through a similar experience during these most recent times. And so this year we had made the decision to do the same, to just be our family and just, you know, stay at home. And I'm telling you that that was not an easy decision to make. I was like fighting the urge to invite people over, but we're really committed. We talked about it time and time again. And so, this is what we made the decision to do. And so now, flash forward to yesterday night here in Texas. There suddenly, it was a beautiful day and it's hundreds of degrees Fahrenheit here. And suddenly there was this big major storm that hit, and it's raining, pouring. And right before we're about to sit down to eat, we lose power. So there was no power, no electricity. Most of everything was already ready except for the vegan apple pie that I'd made that could not get baked until this morning, but that's okay. And so we were sitting down at the table with this, with candle lights, right? So I lit a bunch of candles on the table and we were just sitting. And that's when it really hit me and occurred to me. And that's where I made the decision to bring this topic to the table, is that this is just so symbolic. And it is this true process of whitening. And this is where I'd like to present our topic, or direct our conversation to today. And so I've already mentioned that I'm a big fan of ancient wisdom. And the one that I want to refer to today is magnum opus, which is basically Latin for the great work. And this is coming from Hermeticism, which is basically a combination of Greek and Egyptian wisdom. So Hermes and Thoth. And so then that's combined. And even as a side note, I'll just say that one of my favorite reads of all time is the Kybalion. And it was originally published in 1908, if I'm not mistaken. It's a compilation of Hermetic teachings, and it's basic teachings of basically, esoteric philosophy. So this might be a topic for another day, but I want to present this magnum opus idea. Again, the great work. And this is an alchemical term of the process of working with matter, or we can say prime matter, first matter, something that matter in its most primordial way. And so, and we're doing this in order to create the Philosopher's Stone. People that like Harry Potter, that might ring a bell, right? Or the elixir of life. Okay. And so into our topic today, if we take this magnum opus, this great work, and we look at it as personal and spiritual transformation, that's where we're directing the conversation. And I'm picking out one. And so just to kind of recap for everyone, if you're unfamiliar with this idea, there is an original philosophy that has 4 stages. The first stage of the 4 is the blackening. And so this is the stage of transformation where you're transforming shadows into light, right? We talked a little bit about the accountability loop in one of our conversations. And this is kind of that stage. It's an uncomfortable stage, and it's just a stage where you're sitting with those shadows, and you have to transform them into light. The whitening, as it sounds, is this stage of cleansing, of purification, of distillation. And this stage really requires courage and discipline and mindfulness, even vulnerability, sensitivity, all of those things that allow us to embrace this stage of intense cleansing in order to transform, of course. Mm-hmm. The third stage, and this is that the whitening is where we'll focus on, but I just want to give you a recap of all 4 so it all makes sense. The third stage is the yellowing, and that comes after that purification, that whitening. And so there's where, we show wisdom, we show grace, it's like a goldening. So the golden virtues, right? That's the yellowing. The final stage in this process is the purpling. And that's where we're committed to the high road towards, a life of truth, life of freedom, where we can navigate life, and anything that comes our way, we react to with a golden heart, right? So in the yellowing, you're creating that golden heart. That's the lead to gold kind of idea of alchemy. And so now you see, right? So the process of whitening, of simplification, of bringing light and clarity into your life. And so if we think about that story of my family, when it's just us at the table and there's no one else that I need to cater to please, to accommodate, to, you know, it's just us. It's that distillation, the purification to what matters most, even without lights, even without electricity or AC. You know, we were out for a couple of hours. And that's when we can really alchemically dissolve old and unhealthy patterns. So we have to have courage to do that, and discipline. And if we look at the modern world, right, when this idea is presented in the modern world, a lot of times you'll hear people going on specific diets, you know, eliminating, there's a new way of eating. So they'll eliminate some foods or drinks that don't serve well. I know the tradition of Lent can relate here, right? So these are many traditions have this idea incorporated in them. Remember, this is 1908. So, you know, a lot has been built on that. And so if we even relate this back to our business, it's so easy to get distracted. Rachel often talks about the shiny object syndrome, right? So there's so many things that kind of flash in front of you, and you can easily get distracted. But we're asking you to distill your actions, to find the ones that matter most, so that you can alchemically transform, which would be that turning lead into gold. Of course, we're all here to create more harmony in life. We're here to find a higher way of living. And so there is this amazing opportunity for growth and for self-study when we simplify, when we go back to the basics, when we go back to what matters most. We're basically, you can, relate it to cleaning grime off of a mirror, right? So that you can see and perceive the truth better. So that's where I'd like to bring our focus of conversation today. And that's into this process of whitening, of simplification, of purification. So what measures have you been taking in your life today, in your business? It can be, personal, anything that you'd like to share, just to evaluate what matters most to you. What is your prime matter, like I related to in the beginning? And you'll see that it really is all connected. So when we make these connections, when we understand the way that we are living, more in depth, then we can transform and create the life that we truly desire. So let's see if I have any hands, anyone's that want to share. Black, white, I see there's a lot of comments. Annette says black, white, gold. Yeah, exactly. Spiritual stages. Yes, thank you. All right, Scott, let's hear from you.
Well, this is quite enlightening to me. So I'm going to be very open-minded towards it because of some of my other spiritual beliefs, right, and how they guide me, I guess. But I live in it's a Anishinaabe,
okay,
Native American territory. And so their belief systems run kind of deep in this cleansing area quite often, where sage, they use medicines, they use the circle for the 4 different parts of the life. And we're always in this transition. And so, in this business world, in this transition, some of the things that John has explained to me, and I'm sure he has to everybody else, and this grasp of everything we're in right now and how we're managing it is probably really important, and how it's working for me right now. And it's very exciting,
Yeah.
Things are, it really this opening up and I'm really trying to transform myself, really going through these books, learning more about myself, transforming it to what I see myself to be and what I want to be, and it's really keen. But I really do believe in a lot of these forces and how they work, and Harry Potter and all the magic of the world, and how Aladdin's lamp works, and the three wishes, and how if you just determine yourself, they will come true. And it's that determination, and don't let it get you down. And that's what I've been going through. I don't know how everybody else and what they're going through, but it's very, very cool. And I thank you very much.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank
you. Thank you so much. Thanks for that share. And thanks for, relating it to other traditions, because that's, I think, what makes it so special, that these topics are relatable. Yes, I came from my own personal journey and I shared a glimpse into my life, but just like you said, that purification process of sage burning and incense burning and the different steps. I mean, they have sweat lodges, and then there's so much that goes into these traditions of purification. I only mentioned a few, but yeah,
right. No, there is a lot. There's a lot, many, and it's a daily, a daily thing. I've had the honor to sharing a pipe with pipe carriers and elders, and have been taught lessons by them. It is a thing where it takes you to get up in the morning and raise it to the creator and the sun when it's coming up, because it happens every day. That moon cycle and everything is very important. We got 12 months, but why is it 13 moons? So we'll just leave that with my question.
Yeah, no, and everything you're saying is true. I just want to also acknowledge that you brought in that effect of magic into, you brought that into our attention. And I think that's so important, because that is that unknown realm. There is that, we talked often, even in all the books that we recommend, I gave you a very esoteric book and spiritual thinking and stuff like that. But we do, even in Think and Grow Rich, infinite intelligence, he relates it to. And, the secret of whatever you're putting out, you're bringing back and all that. So that's that, or even Secrets of a Millionaire's Mind, the roots create the fruits. When we know what's underlying, what we don't see, what's hidden from the eye is so much more than what we can see. So thanks for bringing that into our conversation. I appreciate it. Crystal, love to hear from you.
Hi. Okay, so mine's not quite as deep, but I think everybody can relate to it. I'm thinking of simplicity and cleansing and all that. And I know that some of you know that I'm in the middle of a move right now. And what I find really from going from the dark to the light is we're purging so much stuff, and it's such a cleansing feeling. And I've moved a few times in my life, but I think this is the one time I've really taken it seriously and said, you know what, we don't need 20 dishes. We need 4 dishes. Let's have 4 dishes, simple things like that, so that we can focus ourselves on the more important things, like whether it's family, whether it's your career, whatever your dreams are, because we do in this day and age, so much around us. It's just too abundant, right? Sometimes, and then go for the good stuff. Right. So that's how I feel about the cleansing part of it. And I do the sage and all that stuff too. And I believe in all that. That really does help. So now I'll have more time to sage.
I love it. And you're relating it to something so relatable. I want to say simple. It's not simple to move. It's more.
Well, it is in a way. Yeah.
But it's a task that we'll all experience in life. Let's put it in that way. And so, the process of giving away things, of minimizing, of understanding, what do I really need? We often, accumulate. And I'll tell you, with 4 children and just, stuff just gathers. Let's just put it that way. It's just, and to be able to release that and cleanse that out of our life, we really feel the load lifted off. It really is a cleansing process, spiritually, emotionally, physically, and inside of our heart, we see it.
And the giving part of it too, right? There's so much we can give. That why do we need it, right? So it's good feeling.
That's a fantastic example to just kind of allow us to see things, as they are in our basic life. So thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Patricia, always love to hear from you. You have to unmute yourself here. Oh, you're still muted. I'm asking you to.
There we go. Okay. Hello. Well, I'm very excited this morning. And I have to tell y'all, and I wish John was on here because I wanted to thank him for yesterday. We had a really good talk yesterday, but he came in and he said he had been listening to what we were saying before he came on. And the first thing he did was say, I love my job. I mean, just yelled it, and I'm like, well, it just slapped me in the face that I've been worried about how to do all this stuff and been thinking negative thoughts, and instead of thinking positively, the art of thinking positive. That is a very hard thing to do. It's so much easier to think negative. It's so much easier to say, oh, I can't do this, or, oh, I don't want to do that. It's so hard. Oh, I hate doing this paperwork, and blah, blah, blah. And at the very beginning, one of the first groups that we were in together, somebody was talking about, go ahead and get it done. Get it over with. Go ahead and do your hard things first, So, and my grandmother, she lived in Mississippi, and her dad had a whole lot of land. And in the summertime, the Choctaw Indians would come up from the other county, and they would stay on part of the land, and they would sharecrop. They worked the land, and they had houses that my great grandfather helped build, and they lived there. So she learned a lot of spiritual thoughts from the Choctaw Indians. Well, in the wintertime, the gypsies would come through, and y'all are all probably too young to remember, but the gypsies used to come in wagons, and they had these rounded tops on their wagons, and they lived in them, and they painted them red and bright colors, and she learned a lot of her spiritual thoughts through the gypsies, which kind of correlated with the Choctaws, but just a little bit different, And she was also a Christian. And I said, how do you put all this together? And she said, honey, you can learn from anybody.
Exactly.
You can, it's whatever you decide to believe. But she said, I learned everything, all the positive thoughts from them. Well, she learned how to make candles from the gypsies, how to make positive candles that when you were feeling down, you did this candle, and the smell it was like cinnamon and orange and cloves. All the smell that you would actually do around Christmas time makes you feel good, and lavender, and all that put together. And so last night, I'm on track here. Just give me a second. I normally sleep in the daytime. For the last 20 years, I've worked at night and I slept in the daytime. And I've been trying to switch myself around so I'm sleeping more, trying to get on a normal schedule for regular people. So I've been earlier and earlier and earlier. Normally I've been going to bed around 2:00, which is early for me because I used to go to bed around 6. Last night I went to bed at 11:30, and I actually went to sleep. But in my thoughts before I went to sleep, I said, I am going to have the same excitement that John had yesterday about loving his job. I'm going to get back on the art and the thought of positive thinking instead of negative thinking. And so I went to bed, and I woke up wide awake, which is so unusual for me. And I sat up in the bed and I said, I love my job. And I'm like, oh, wow, this is so cool. I feel so good this morning. So I got up and I cleaned everything, and I did all my little write-ups that I was supposed to do for Diane. And I've been writing all this other stuff, and I fed all the cats, and I'm like, what else can I do? It's only 9:30. And it's so nice to, I don't know, instead of thinking, I can't do this, or I'm not understanding that, or I'm having problems with this, and switch that around to, I will understand this. I will figure this out. I will ask for help, which is my worst problem of all times. Is I'm always giving the help. That's me. I'm a protector, and so I never ask for help. But one of the little things that Diane wanted me to listen to was masterminding, where we all get together and we all talk and we all help each other. And that falls under the same thing that we're talking about. It's all positive thinking and working together. And I don't know, it just made me feel so much better. And I wanted to share that with y'all because I'll be quiet now.
Oh, that was fantastic, Patricia. Wow, we love it. We love it. I'm clapping here, and I see other people clapping.
Thank you, Miss Angie.
It's a beautiful share because you're showing, first of all, you're showing the power of autosuggestion, which we talk about on these calls all the time, and how profound. It doesn't take much. It didn't take you a year of reprogramming your brain and doing all that. It didn't take you months. It took you one night. You tuned your instrument to this, I want that, like you saw it. So it was great that you were able to see someone in front of you with that kind of excitement. And then you have to mirror it.
Well, my background is prior to the military and everything, is I have a degree and I used to work in public relations. And I was around that. My dad was in it for like 80 years and he never quit. And my biggest thing was always think positive, no matter what's going on. You can write the negative things up there, but switch the writing around to make it positive. And I used to have a wall in my house that everything that I heard that was really neat, I wrote up on this wall. I didn't care if people walked in and saw a wall full of writing. That was my wall. You don't like it, don't come in, but I would usually turn people around and get them all excited about it. But you have to think positive when you're in advertising or public relations or marketing or selling, because if you don't think positive, that's going to rub off on the people with whom you're trying to sell,
right?
And they will feel your negative feelings and they'll go, I don't know if I want to get that from her or not. I mean, she's not sounding like it's going to be very good. But if you come in like, oh, I got something great for you today. You really need to listen to me about this. People will listen to you. And I remembered when I was selling that when I would wake up with I was tired or whatever, it all comes across, and I would have my bad selling days. But when I woke up excited like I was this morning, I made a lot of money, and it just kind of, what you give comes back tenfold, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I don't know.
Right. No, fantastic. And I just wanted to say that the distance from what you received, right? You shifted, you changed your idea. Mm-hmm. And then it was the next day. So it was quick. And that's something that I think, it's not going to always be the same for everyone, but I think oftentimes we think that it's a labor, or we need to now engage in these things, or, Michael, I was hoping you'd raise your hand today. And so, it's like, I wanted to use your example for two things, just that the transformation is quick. It's quick. Yes. It's not, something that we think that it's going to take us forever, but here it is. And the other thing that I want to relate to what you said is the asking for help. And you talked about the mastermind group, and here, our group here, our community here together, we're here to support each other. We're not alone. Yeah. I think life gets heavier when we think that we have the weight of the world on our shoulders, and we need to find the solutions for everything, and we need to come up with everything, and we need to do it all ourselves but wait 1 second, we don't really need to. And there is this community and the support that we offer through all of our programs, the Launch 100, the Low Hanging System, these gatherings, everything that we offer you here as a community, so that you don't feel alone, so that you feel the support and the love. So thank you for sharing that. Michael, what would you like to share with us today?
Oh, my hand's still up there. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Patricia. That was amazing. I was thinking about how that related, and I think the phrase that came to mind that suits this situation best is that positivity is infectious. Yeah. When you are positive, everyone else is positive, or they just feel it's not their place and they just go away. When I was in high school, I guess junior high school, there was a girl, actually like grades 1 to 9. She was always positive, always came in with a smile, always was happy to say. She would always say, we weren't friends per se, we were just classmates. She'd always say good morning to me or hello or something like that. And it always impressed me that she was so friendly. And somebody says, if she ever gets cut, she's going to bleed butterscotch because she's that sweet. However, it created this atmosphere of joy. And I think that if we can create that in our lives and just keep that infection going, positivity, infectiousness, then I think that it'll create the atmosphere we want around us. Yeah. We don't have to worry about other people because they're going to be attracted to it or they're not going to be. Mm-hmm. And that's okay. It'll naturally weed those people out and attract the people around us that that will gravitate towards good and positive and wholesome things.
Beautiful.
Speaking of
Beautiful, Mike.
esoteric,
Great job.
And so, yeah, no, we can tie it in, right? We can tie it into the whitening process, because you're saying that something that is at the core of how you'd like to lead your life, or even Patricia saying at the core of how she'd like to lead her life, is with joy in her heart, to enjoy every day, and so that's the distillation process. So you were able to purify, to move away all the gunk. Okay, I want to make sales, I want to upload mugs, I want to, no, 1 second. I want to be happy. I want to rise with joy. I want to be happy with what I have. Let's focus on that. And so you create that as a habit. You stripped everything away, and that's your new habit. And that's where you put all the time and effort into this new whitening, into this purification process, so that you can transmute your heart into gold. There you have it. So you're living with this gold and joyous heart. And that's how you go. And the beautiful thing about this cycle of alchemy, it's a repetitive thing, and we can go through it time and time again. And just like you had mentioned, Patricia, there was a time in your life where that's what you did. You put up these statements and you were super, super positive on that. And so it's something that's within you. You already know it. It's just wiping the grime off the mirror, right? Purifying, stripping all the nonsense away, and not getting distracted by the shiny objects, and focusing on what matters most, which was the joy. So that's a fantastic way to bring it all together. Yes. Would you like to add something, Patricia?
Just one real quick thing. My grandmother used to tell me that the only person responsible for your happiness is you. That you can't put your responsibility of happiness on your husband, on your children, on your friends, on your cats. You have to make yourself feel positive. So if you're depressed, and I know that sounds horrible, because trust me, y'all, I have been in serious, way down low depressions. Okay. I had to bring myself out. Now, others can help you. That's what the mastermind groups are for. And that's what these groups are for, is to get in and listen and think about all the things that people are saying. But I had to remember that I was responsible for me. And that's why it was easier for me, because I thought, nope, I'm not going to let this negative thing enter me anymore. I'm going to, now, is it easy? Is it going to stay that way? Probably not. I'm going to have to work on it and work really hard. But right now, today, I feel good, and I wrote it down day one. This is when I'm starting all over again, and so I've started over, I'll bet you 1,000 times, but I don't quit. I keep going. And that's been me all my life, is I never have quit on anything. And so anyway, I'm trying to not quit again.
That's fantastic. Again, you brought it full circle, because you're talking about, first of all, that there are new beginnings every time. And so if we related it, to the beginning of my conversation, the new moon or whatever, even rising every morning is a new beginning. Isn't it that amazing? It's like the universe, it's not one and done. I mean, imagine if every night was opening night and you just, there was one shot, that's it. I mean, what would life look like? And life is not like that to us. It's another chance and another chance and another try and another, here, this one didn't work out. Here's another one. Okay, here, let's try it again. Never giving up on you, and never, abandoning you, if so to speak. And that's what, when you said deep repression, that's kind of what we feel. We feel that loneliness, we feel that space. And so, but I also love the tenacity that you shared in the beginning. You said, no matter what, and I say this on every conversation, if I have a business strategy session, like I have with some of you here, and I will have in the future, or, if we're talking about even done for you stuff that we offer here in the programming, I always say, it's not, you have to bring it. It's going to be you, no matter what you sign up for and what you get and what everything is, it has to be you too. It's going to come from you. So it's going to be you pulling yourself into the light. It's going to be you uploading those mugs for the full year. It's going to be you in the next year, and it's going to be you the year after that. So, it's a beautiful way to look at things. And I'm grateful for all of your shares. Cynthia, let's hear from you today.
Well, hello, everybody. So I extract this down to, I'm a Christian, and it comes down to subtraction, addition to get multiplication. So your whitening is the subtraction part. And
Right.
we practice fasting and prayer and those things regularly. And in those processes, there is a place of revelation as to, in comparison to our businesses here, to where you have to subtract before you can add. So whether it's in the way you think or it's the tasks that you do in your business, there's this ongoing assessment, if you choose to do it, of assessing what you need to subtract. What things have you drifted into that really aren't the best use of your time or the best way to get to your goals? So we have to look at that as what do we subtract? Then there's the addition, which I hear in your yellowing, golden, where because we have subtracted, whether it be our thoughts, our negative thoughts versus our positive thoughts, we've grown into more habits and patterns where we think more positively. We move into this place where there's room to focus our thoughts or focus our business on the addition part of it, right? So we can add the things, the good things, the progressive things that we need to do to, to move forward in success, if you will, in our business or in our lives, in our thoughts. And then there's the multiplication, which is likened to your purpling. I like that. I really like that. Because once we get past, or once we move forward, I don't know if we ever get past it, but we do, like to your point earlier, Karen, about, it's something each day we choose. But once we move into that place of addition, then there's the open place for multiplication, which in your purpling is committed to the higher road, the truth. You can let some of the other stuff fall away because you're thinking more positively. You've changed old habits and bad habits and patterns in some measures. So you're progressing into that place where you're committed to the higher road, as you said, and we can move forward into that. It is something that we do have to be mindful about. I agree with everybody in that. And it is something that I say, praise the Lord, we get to choose each day. So I liken it to subtraction, addition to get to multiplication.
I love that. That's so beautiful. Thank you, Cynthia. And isn't it great when we can take these universal and then apply them to what matters most to us? That's the beauty of it. We're not meant to see everything exactly the same way. I mean, that would be so boring. It's the diversity that makes life so beautiful. And when we can look at these things, even from a perspective, like a neutral perspective, and then say, hey, I can relate to that from this point, in my life, or where I am right here. And then I can use this to my advantage. So that was beautiful work, Cynthia. And when you were saying subtraction, addition, and multiplication, I was even thinking in terms of currency, because, even in our business, we have to put out currency. We have to have a money exchange. We have to first subtract. We have to give something, even everybody that signed up here for the low-hanging system, the advanced courses, and whatever it is, we spend money. And then you're getting stuff back. So suddenly there's an addition. Okay, sales are coming in. But there is a time before we see that multiplication. We see that huge, massive, because multiplication takes you real fast up high to the numbers. But, with the addition, it's a slower process. So that's kind of like, okay, we're slowly selling. I've sold a couple mugs. I've sold a couple t-shirts, socks that Michael is selling, or whatever it is, right? And we're moving and progressing. And then bam, we hit those numbers of multiplication, and it's like, wow, we made it. So I love that.
Well, I have to say, this has been a prayerful process for me since I unloaded on you guys last week about my jail cell. So I have to say, prayerfully, the Lord's been showing me that this application to exactly your point, and that is our money and our business. I've had the application for business, but the money part. So thank you, everyone. You helped me break out. But I have to say that it is, and I've known this to be true before, coming back around to it. That's why, to your point, Karen, about the day-to-day, we have to, it is a process to break old mindsets. It is a process to old wrong mindsets. It's easy by human nature to fall into the negative. It's just the way the world is. Culture perpetuates it in many ways, and we get to choose free will. So I have to thank you all, but also it is a process. It's not like once and done. Thankfully, we get, like you said, Karen, we can look at it each day, and it is a progression if we continue to. There's a Dr. Carolyn Leaf, she's a neurosurgeon from South Africa, and she actually proved that our brains physiologically, our negative thoughts look like these, we call them tumbleweeds out here in Nevada, spiky bushes. But as we continue to focus on positive thoughts, physiologically, our brains actually change because of the neurotransmissions within our brains. And what happens is the human brain, and she works with the hardened criminals in the United States, the really bad, the worst of the worst. But what happens is our human brain actually turns to look like pretty little broccolis instead of these spiky bushes. And it's because of the physiology of thinking and choosing to think on good, positive, moving forward in that. And it actually changes our physiology in our brain, which I think is incredible too.
Yes, that's beautiful. And I'd also want to just acknowledge your transformation, and that everyone can see here, it was a short amount of time. It was not a long time. You said last week, it was a short amount of time. Look at this. This is such a beautiful reflection. And we can all get into those spells. And it's just like you said, it comes back at us, but look, we can pull ourselves up. And you used, your faith to pull yourself up. You use the community. I mean, whatever works, we have to know what works for us. So that's a beautiful and powerful share. I think that's something that we can all gather strength from. And the other thing that you shared about the neurological pathways and just the way that our brain works, I love that, because if anyone has ever seen cymatics is where you'll put a piece of cardboard with salt on it, and you'll have a speaker on the bottom and project a frequency, and the salt will gather to a certain shape and form. And so it's amazing because, we can tune our body, our instrument. We're water. And there are a bunch of, there's a Japanese scientist that did the same with like crystallized waters with different things that, you'd say to the water, to the rice or whatever it was. And you actually see the transformation in your eyes. And, out of that experiment, it was actually, they took a couple of different rice. And I know that there are some ideas that was it true, was it not true, was it able to be repeated or not, whatever. I'm presenting it to you and then you can research it for yourself. But he had taken 3 dishes of rice, and to one, he would just say nasty things all day long, nasty, nasty, nasty. And to one, he would say great things, I love you, what a wonderful, have a great day, positive things. The other one he would ignore. And so the question is, which out of the 3 do you think was the worst? Which one developed like the most amount of mold and looked the yuckiest? What do you think, Cynthia? You want to give it a guess?
The negative. I know this to be true. And they say the same about plants.
It's actually the one that he ignored, but I agree. You can now connect things to plants and hear what they say. They hear your thoughts, but it was the ignoring one. And think about it in terms of a child. A child that's ignored will act up to get your attention. And so with bad attention, positive attention, they just want attention. So this is this a different topic because we're getting off topic completely now.
Well, yes and no, because I think, and I wanted to just because you guys all heard me last week, I wanted to tell you, it is this, whether you liken it to whitening, yellowing, or purpling, or subtraction, addition, or multiplication, it has so many real applications to our lives, both how we think and what comes out of our lives as a result. Even how we delegate or how we distill what we do on a day-to-day basis in our businesses, right? So right. I really think it has a lot. It's kind of like the foundation. Thank you for bringing that.
Yay. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I think Chukwuemeka, did you want to share something? I saw you unmute yourself, but no hand went up. Did you want to share with the community something?
A phone call came through, so I had to.
Is it what?
I said, a phone call came through.
Oh, a phone call came through. Okay. So,
Yes, that was
all
what
right,
happened,
next time. All right, fantastic. So we're towards the end of our chat today. Wonderful shares. Great to hear from everyone. Anybody else wanted to say last couple of words before we sign off for the day? You can let me know and I'll give you the floor. If not, I mean, it's just, I think it's just so amazing how much strength we can draw from each one of your stories and just kind of find the things that are relatable to our life. And then we know that we're in this roller coaster that is life and business and all that. And to remember when that roller coaster is going down, we know we're going to go up. We're going to climb it no matter what. And to reel it back to where we began our conversation on the whitening, to really hone in on what matters most to you. So to understand, where are you putting your focus? What are you able to cleanse and purify today that will get you even closer to your destination? Are you ready to embrace this new discipline that you need for yourself, like Miracle Morning or any of the other, daily mode of operations that we offer you, or any other discipline that you need? Do you have the courage to confront these tasks every day, time and time again, knowing that it is a new day, that you have a new chance, that you can transmute lead into gold, that is, the process that you're going through in life. And I think that just makes, acknowledging the magic in life, it makes for a holistic approach, a fun way of living, of being, and of sharing with the world. So thank you all. Thank you, Mildred. Thank you all for being here today. It's fantastic to be here with all of you. Look forward